They were the 38th person to be exonerated and freed from prison by the way of DNA back in December of 1996. His name is Walter D. Smith. Walter Smith, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for having me, Clay.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Smith. You called into my show a while back, and we had a brief conversation. And I wanted to talk with you more about your story. I think it's really important. So, for folks who don't know, briefly tell us you were behind bars for unrelated charges, and then you were accused of raping three women.
That is,
Tell us the story.
yeah, that is so true. And what's really important and why I'm so glad that you've taken the initiative to give me the exposure that you're giving is because 85% of those of us that go to prison are usually on alcohol or drugs.
Mm,
And I covered the whole gamut. I was strung out on cocaine, come from a well-to-do background, both parents in the home. Dad was an extremely good provider. And I was a bodybuilder, very competitive bodybuilder, afraid to use steroids. And out of that fear, I was introduced to cocaine. And then I became addicted to cocaine, tried to get treatment, and I was refused treatment. They asked me, did I have insurance? I said no. They said, do you have $5,000? I said no. They said, well, how much is your drug habit a day? $500 a day. She said, well, Mr. Smith, if you quit getting high for 10 days, guess how much money you would have? I said, bitch, if I could quit getting high for 10 days, I wouldn't be calling your behind. So then I decided I was suicidal. I was going to keep doing robberies until I got caught or killed. Fortunately for me, Clay, I got caught. They laid me down on the ground. And this is very important because this is something that's not being said with all our brothers getting killed by cops. I'm alive to tell my story. They rolled down on me. Cop was shaking like a leaf, put that riot gun up against my head, and I thought he was going to shoot it, shaking like a leaf. Then all other cops came jumping out of their cars. You could hear them cocking their weapons. They said, nigga, if you move one muscle, we're going to blow your brains out. Then they told me to get on my knees and put my hands behind my head, and I kept laying there. They said, did you hear what we said, sir? You just told me if I move one muscle, you was going to blow my brains out. If you want me to get up, pick me up. Then I was taken into custody.
mm, wow. And so you're in custody, and you've been open about your story. You were open about it. I looked into your story. You were open about making mistakes in the past.
Absolutely.
You're awaiting trial,
Mhm.
and randomly you're accused of rape. Is it three women you were accused of raping?
Three white women.
Three. Now, how does this happen? You are behind bars. You're
Mhm.
awaiting trial for again unrelated to any kind of sexual assault,
Correct.
and you're suddenly accused of rape, and I believe it was because of a beard. Do I have this right?
Well, actually, what happened was, good point. At the time when I was arrested, when I got arrested, I didn't want my family to know that I had been in trouble with the law. I'm the first one in my family to go to prison. So I had already called one of my cousins and said, just tell auntie and uncle, the rest of the family, that I went off to college out of town because guys was telling me that in the county jail. That's what guys did in there then. It's a lot of people out here that have been to prison that can't go public. I go public because my story was public. There are a lot of guys that go to prison and they'll never go public because they have wonderful lives. Unfortunately, that did not work for me. So, yes, while I was in custody, when I was arrested for the robbery, I told them I was from another state, which I was, Kansas City, Missouri. They asked, did I have any family? I said no, but I did. They asked me one more question. I can't remember what it was. Oh, yes, they asked me, did I have any money? I said, no, I don't. Well, now I'm a prime suspect. Easy, broke, black, from another state. We
Mm.
got all these rapes over here to clean up on somebody.
In
So when
Ohio,
they
correct? In Ohio, correct?
in Columbus, Ohio, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes, yes. Now I'm guilty for drug addiction. Had even qualified for drug treatment. I had no juvenile record. I had a very good job. My employer was willing to help me go through drug treatment, but now I'm a suspect for rape. And I said, I did all that over there, robbery. First robbery, guy pointed the gun at me. I told him to give me the gun. He gave it to me. If I had been sitting in his seat, I would have shot you. I would have shot the person that was robbing me with the gun. Now I got a gun. Turned the gun back on him, pointed it at him, said, it's a robbery. Give me the money. He gave me the money. Walked out 2 weeks later, took the clip out, pointed at a guy, wouldn't give me the money. I left, and God blessedly, I got caught. So now I'm in the system. And they think all black men are big, dumb, and stupid. A little bit educated. First thing we do when we're accosted by the law is shut up, think, remember their badge number, remember their car number, remember everything you can because you're going to need it later. So now I'm a suspect. They put me in a lineup. I'm clean shaven. At that time, I did not have a beard. But by the time I became a suspect, I grew a beard in jail because I can't use a razor. I did not know they were looking for someone with a beard because had I known that, I would have shaved with the razor. So then they put me in a lineup. Now, here's the real kicker. In the lineup, and my case has changed laws in the state of Ohio because of the suggestiveness of my lineup. The person I'm a bodybuilder, so they've already told all the women that the guy is muscular. You're looking for a big guy. So they put me in a lineup, and the next person close to my body weight was also very muscular, my same height. He weighed 185, I weighed 200. They eliminated him from the lineup. So the next person close to me in body weight weighed 160, and then it kept going down after that. So we all sitting in the weight room for me to walk in the lineup because I really don't know what they're looking for at this time. And we're all laughing because they're saying, hey, man, if they're looking for somebody big, you know your ass is out, don't you? And I'm still laughing because I know I didn't rape anyone. So they put me in the lineup. They said, number 2, will you step forward? I was number 2. They made me do quarter turns. I was not identified by all of the women. One of them cried. And the detective decided that it was me that made her cry. In a photo lineup, by the way. Now they showed a photo lineup, which you can't do in Ohio no more because of my case. So they showed her a photographic lineup first. And he, through suggestiveness, put my picture in front of her. And they do this in a very suggestive way. That's why they eliminated this process in the state of Ohio. And he decided, she didn't pick me, but the detective decided that it was my picture that made her cry. Now put in a lineup. The women are looking for someone 5'11", 6'1", 6'3" with a beard. I've never been 5'9" in my life. I'm 5'8.5", short, but they were looking for someone tall with a beard.
Wow.
The rest is history. I was an easy catch, and this is why I wanted people to hear the story, because when you go into the system, first of all, people say, well, aren't you angry because of what you went through? No, I'm angry at myself for allowing myself to become addicted to drugs, because my family had always said, whatever you do, don't get in trouble with the law. Because if you do, it's easy to get in the system, but hard to get out. And that is so true. We set ourselves up, Black men in particular, because we get out here and we use substance. We don't study. We don't get educated. So when we walk in the door, they have their way with us.
So when you find out that you've been accused of raping 3 white women, what what goes through? Are you? How old are you at this point?
I'm 25 at that time.
So you're a young man, right?
At the
What
top of my youth, yes.
and at this point, are you fully recovered? Are you completely off? Are you in withdrawals? Like, how are you as far as your
Good point.
addiction?
Good point. I was arrested on July 18th, 1985. Clay, I spent 17 days in the county jail. Scared the heck out of me. I said, I can't go to prison. I walked out on bond, $10,000 bond. Very dear friend of mine to this day, Gail Davis, was my accountant. She bonded me out. Very dear friend of mine. No one else wasn't touching me. And when I got out, I decided then that I wasn't going to use any more cocaine. So I went back out in the streets to make money to pay for an attorney. Hadn't used from July 17th was when I got out. And it was October 13th, I was pulled over driving my partner's car. One headlight was out. They pulled me over, and I had talked to my attorney. This was on a Friday night. I had talked to my attorney the night before, asking when was my trial. He said, well, we don't have a date yet. So when they pulled me over, they say, you're under arrest. I say, for what? Because you jumped bail and you missed your trial date. Well, sir, I just talked to my attorney yesterday. I didn't have a trial date. So these are all the little things that they do when you have nobody to protect you, okay? So they arrested me on October 13th. When they got me into custody, the first thing the detective said, Mr. Smith, you know anything about any dead bodies? I said, no. You know anything about any murders? I said, no. You know anything about any rapes? I said, no. He said, well, you're a suspect. I said, a suspect for what? Rape. I said, come on, man. Did a robbery. I'm a man about it. strung out on cocaine, but Lord knows I've never raped nobody. Well, not only that, sir, you're not guilty of one rape, you're guilty of three. And so again, my heart fell. I had already been convicted for the armed robbery. I cried like a baby because again, I hurt my whole family by going to prison. Everybody thought I was going to be the next preacher, the next doctor, the next lawyer, whatever. But I'm the one that ended up going to prison. So now when they accused me of rape, I woke up, stood my head up high. Let's go, because I'm going to get you. You're not going to get this off on me. As soon as I got to prison, I picked up a book. That's how I got myself out.
Hmm. And so what were you convicted of? What were the charges? What was your sentence?
Well, they trump charges up on you. They throw the book at you. 3 different women, you get everything. You get rape, burglary, theft, kidnapping, and there was one more. I can't remember what the last one was, but about a total of 5 on each one of the women. So I had a 15-count indictment. I was sentenced 78 to 190 years for rape and 6 to 25 for the robbery. My parole board date would be 2086, at which time I'll be 132 years of age. So they throw all that stuff at you. Now I was found not guilty on one of the victims, but in the search warrant, they said whoever did one crime did all 3 crimes. Well, I proved myself innocent on one. Clearly proved myself innocent because I had pictures showing that I was clean shaven with jerry curls. The rapist had a full beard and short hair. I was clean shaven 16 days before because I had gone to a funeral with jerry curls and clean shaven. So when I presented that to evidence in my trial, the prosecutor said, this picture is not even this man. I said, well, it is me. Who else would it be? And I believe it was one woman that sat there and believed me. And that's why I was found not guilty on that one charge. Because once more, they're looking for someone with a beard and short hair. So I was very methodical in making sure I found, because these crimes also had happened 2 years before I was arrested. So the only thing that helped me get those pictures, I got to find stuff with dates on them. So we started looking at all my pictures and found pictures that were taken 16 days before one of the rapes, showing that I was clean shaven. Because again, in the search warrant, they said whoever did one crime did all 3. And it was that very search warrant that got the person who got me out interested in my case.
And what are you thinking during the trial as you're hearing just blatant lies about yourself? You're a young man, so you obviously prove as far as one of the women no, but what are you thinking as the prosecutors, the system is coming after you?
Welcome to America, black man. Woke up, wake up call. This is serious stuff once more. Once they accused me of rape, I stood my head up high. I'm not going to hold my head down. We going to war. Not going to get me. I'm going to win. So my head was high. Now, what was painful for me, Clay, was to sit there and hear what happened to those women. That was painful. And I'm sitting here, not the one that did it. And something else that was very painful. There was only one black male on the jury. There were 3 black females. That brother ain't looked at me yet. He ain't looked at me yet. This brother ain't made no kind. He kept his head down. He would not look at me, man. I want to make eye contact with everybody because I'm a professional bodybuilder. So I know how important it is to make eye contact. I'm using what I learned in theater. I'm using what I learned in bodybuilding. I'm using everything I got. I'm going to draw somebody into me because they're going to feel my soul. They're going to feel my spirit. They're going to know I didn't do this. And I believe it was one white woman, because she was the one that asked specifically to take a look at the picture. And that's when the prosecutor told her in my trial on the 4th day of my trial, because that's when I got a chance to testify. He said, his picture is not that man. She said, let me see the picture. She looked at that picture. She looked at me. She looked at that picture. That brother still has not looked at me. We got a multitude of problems. Getting off track just a little bit. But when I was in prison, I got to say it so I don't forget, I prepared myself coming out of prison to deal with racism. I did not know anything about classism. And that's a big problem that we have in our community, because some of our people have made it.
That's
and they
right.
don't give a damn about the rest of us. So yes, when I sit there looking at them black women and that one black man, I got to make eye contact with this brother because he got to feel me. But oh no, most of us are house Negroes, period. When we make it, we don't give a damn about each other. That syndrome about reach back and pull one with you, oh, that don't work, not in the black community of America. So I sit there hoping that them Black people would connect with me. And I still haven't taken time to find that white woman and thank her for fighting for me, because I ain't got nothing against, I ain't a racist by no means whatsoever. But we can't never effectively deal with racism when we so struggling with classism amongst our own people.
Brother, you listen, that's one of my platforms every day.
Come on now.
I got to ask you this. You talked about that you felt bad because you put yourself in that situation, and you were saying how we have to be careful putting ourselves in that kind of situation where we're in the justice system. But Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Smith, I think about so many folks that I've interviewed that
Mm-hmm.
got in the system, had no record. They just made a right turn down the street and they're stopped by somebody. There's a great doc on Netflix called Trial 4. They
Mm-hmm.
just go in Walgreens and buying some diapers, and they're just randomly accused. So what do you say to that to folks who maybe didn't make the mistakes that you made, that you've owned up to and take accountability for, but they're still getting caught up in the system?
Because we simply Black. We don't stand a chance in this Eurocentric concept of life in America. We're destined to doom. We need all of us, like W.B. Du Bois said, we need the talented 10th to reach back and take care of the rest of us. All of us can't be entrepreneurs. And I run a couple of very successful businesses, by the way. But we all can't be very successful out here. We will fall in situations where we will become subjected to this system out here. So yes, if a brother is innocent and it happened to be his unlucky day, the only benefit that I can give to that brother is when them white people walk down on you and accuse you of having done something that you know you have not done, you lay your behind down, shut up, remember his name, his badge number, and hope they don't shoot you in the back of your head when you lay down. It's the only response I can give you for that one. This ain't our land. We're not welcome here.
I hear you. So let's talk about you finally getting out. You're behind bars, I believe it's 11 years, right? And if I have
Correct.
this right, all of your appeals have been exhausted, and you begin writing a reporter. Do I have this correct? And
That is correct.
he kind of gets the gets it rolling for you to finally be released. And you're one of the few people, like I said, the 38th person to be exonerated because of DNA evidence. So explain what happened with that reporter and what would happen after that.
So in prison, I did what the judge told me to do. I worked out every day. My first workout in prison was April 26, 1986. My last workout was November 24th, 1996. And every day I studied, worked out, gonna get myself out. So I started writing because my background was marketing before I went to prison. So I wrote 500 attorneys and they all said no. I wrote the media 500 times before I found Jerry Revish. When I found Jerry Revish in 1988, he wrote me back and said, if you can prove that they removed blood and saliva from your body, I'll come and see you. Never said nothing about my
This is the
robbery because
reporter,
it was in
correct?
the first
This
sentence.
is the
Yes,
reporter, correct?
yes,
Okay, the reporter. Okay.
he was a street soldier at that time. But yeah, I wrote Jerry Revish and he told me that if I could prove that they removed blood and saliva from my body, that he would come down to see me. 20 minutes later, the prison staff called me when he received my letter and said he'll be here from Columbus, Ohio. He flew a helicopter down to Columbus in 1989. He stayed with me for the 9 years until I got out of prison in 1996. He's the one that did it all. He went in and found the samples that was in a storage space, found the samples, and convinced the retiring prosecutor, Mike Miller, Republican, good friend of mine to this day, because he was a good person. And he asked Mike Miller to allow me DNA. The court system denied me access to DNA 9 times over 8 years.
Mm.
In their last denial on number 9, they said, Mr. Smith, no, number 8, they said, Mr. Smith, all the decisions in your case are final. Your case has been closed. Please do not write the court anymore. And I wrote the court again. And I was going to write them again. And the attorneys that I had, which I had a lot of respect for and really liked them, they wanted to file another motion. I said no. We had a little bit of a falling out. So I fired them like I had fired about 6 other attorneys. I had one attorney come to the prison, sat with me for 4 hours. Then just before she left, she said, Mr. Smith, do you think you may have blacked out and raped those women? I said, you're fired. Another one came and got $5,000, said she had access to DNA. She went on a 2-month vacation over to Europe. The whole prison and Jerry Revish, all of them got together to get this man his money back because she came and took my money. These attorneys are crooks too, a lot of them, okay? So I studied and studied, then Jerry Revish came. He never did relent, went and had the test done. When we had the test done, now keep this in mind, they denied me access to the test 9 times, but when my mother paid or gave me $5,000, we only paid $2,000 for the test. Then they was running 5,000. The price had gone down. Once my mother paid for the test, it took 12 weeks for it to come back and say that I was innocent. Now the system want to pay for the test. Our system is so messed up. We have the best laws in the United States. The Constitution could be better, but it need to be written because wasn't nobody black, red, purple, green, or orange, or no other color at the table. Wasn't but a bunch of racist white men that wrote it. And why don't we make these people rewrite their so-called Constitution? But anyway, those things were not made for us. They buried me in there, thanks to Jerry Revish, the one media person, who's a pastor, by the way. I had been free 8 years before I found out that he was a pastor. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here with you today.
Let me ask you, I have asked this before to other folks. We talk about these numbers, 11 years yourself, Ronnie Long, 44 years, Chester Holman, 28 years, and so many others. I'm just curious, the time, how were you able to get through the time knowing you're behind bars, wrongfully convicted? When a lot of people think about prison, they think about violence, they think about assault, they think about you're a young man. Like, how are you getting through your spirit, your soul, even outside of your faith? Because a lot of folks have faith, but just that's trauma. So how are you getting through the time?
A lot of people said, Walter, call on Jesus. Jesus said, Walter, you got yourself into this mess. Get yourself out. Love you. Take care of your business. Then the Muslims call on Allah. Called on Allah. Said same thing. I called on that other God that another brother created for himself. He said the same thing. Bruh, you got yourself into this. Self out. I wasn't able to sleep in prison. I was all stressed out in prison. I went through that whole thing where I'd like to get my hands on a woman for real, but I couldn't. I went through that physiological thing in prison, and I learned how to transmute all that energy. I took my mind off my misery and put it on my victory. I'm going to walk out of prison and I'm going to step up on a stage and I'm going to win me a bodybuilding contest. I stopped worrying about the rapes because I knew that the key to me getting out was to educate myself. And if we think we're going to begin to stop having our people kill each other, the first thing we got to do is put a mechanism in place, which I have, is my book, and put a mechanism in place to give to these babies at the 6th grade level and make them read this book. It's the only tool that can go all over the country where I can't go, where all these so-called leaders can't go. Get it in our babies' hands and teach them how to read. I became a scholar in prison. I run circles around the average lawyer. I've won 5 lawsuits since I've gotten out of prison. I'm getting ready to file 5 more. I don't file them if I can't win them. And I hope to go to law school and get a degree, but I'll run circles around the average attorney. I picked up a book. That's why you've heard me keep saying that. We don't read. We do not read. That's why it's so easy for us to just kill each other. Because what else are we going to do in this society that has become highly technological? And you got to know how to deal with computers to function in this community, in this system out here.
Before we go, I have to ask you this. One of the great things about your situation is that you got some retroactive compensation because of a President Barack Obama policy. Folks may not know this. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. President Barack Obama did a lot of stuff. He also pardoned more people than all the other presidents from prison. He pardoned more people than all the other presidents put together. Well, yes, I got a meager $250,000. And when they gave it to me, I almost told them to keep it. What the hell am I going to do with $250,000? Unfortunately, I was in a state that did not compensate us well. The best states were Illinois, New York, California before 9/11. So I got a meager 250. I had to pay $67,000 in taxes. So one of the things that's never mentioned about President Barack Obama that he did, he wrote a moratorium to make the federal government give us the tax money that we paid for wrongful incarceration. They gave it back to us. So my $67,000 had matured to a little bit of money over the 13 years, I believe it was, that I had been free before I got that money. Yes. And he made them give me the 67 back with interest and all of that. And that did help. And it was a good gesture on our president's part and a good way to show amends to those of us that had been wrongfully incarcerated. Well, and I got to say this before you let me go, Brother Clay, and I hope that I can join you in the future on this very, very all too important matter. I reduced the homicides, not single-handedly, but the mayor called me to come to a meeting in 1996. I'm sorry, in 2006, on Dr. King's birthday. By the way, happy birthday to Dr. King. But anyway, he he had a meeting on Dr. King's birthday in 2007, January 2007, to reduce the homicides in Columbus, Ohio. So I went to the moratorium and I told the mayor before I went, because I had already learned that a lot of our leaders, all we do is meet and talk. I get stuff done. I said, Mayor, I only come to your meetings if you give me 7 minutes to speak. Gave me 7 minutes to speak. And then when I got done speaking, everybody said, now there's your man to reduce the homicides. They put me on radio. I had my own radio show. I was in the Kathy Hughes Radio 1 family. Program called Street Soldiers. Went on the air. Our homicides had been 80 for 2 years in a row. From 2000, went up to 112, went to 208, then went up to 112, 80 to 112, 108, 112, and then 104 2 years in a row. So me and another felon, we went back to the lowest number we could find, which was 80. We studied, looked at 80 and said, we're going to bring the homicides in at 79, below 80. And every weekend we came on the radio, we went in the community, and all we did was ask. If we don't get a voice, and that's why I mentioned us being ostracized, vilified, and neglected, nullified, all those negatives. We're so rejected. We don't have a voice. The gangsters will listen to us if we can have a voice, because that's how we reduce the homicides. Been to the joint, been strung out on drugs, been a dope dealer. Who gonna take care of your mother? Took care of my mother the last 6 years of her life. She went crazy because of her 3 sons, the lives that we live. Who's gonna take care of your mother? That's the other thing that got me out of prison. Got to get out of here and take care of my mother. Okay, so I got out of prison to take care of my mother. We have to start an energy out here to save us from us. I'm happy to be free. I take good care of myself, and God's willing, I'll live a continual, healthy, and prosperous life.
One more question, and I know we have to go soon, but I got to ask you this. I know the actual rapist was never found, which is terrible. 3 women are raped. Actual rapist was never found. But how do you feel about looking back at it? How do you feel about those three white women that who accused you of rape?
I'm glad you said that, because I did find it.
Oh, you
I got
found the
stuff that I can send to you. And just found an article about 2 years ago where a prosecutor admitted that he was the one guilty of some of my rapes. Still thinking about filing that lawsuit, but a lot of attorneys tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me what I can't do. You just go back to the university you went to and do what them people taught you to do. Don't tell me what I can't do, sir. And that's what happens when you go talk to these so-called educated people. They look down on you and think you don't know how to think for yourself. But the most rapes done in the city of Columbus, Ohio, when I was in jail, and I looked at rapes coming across the media and the newspaper. This guy jumping out of trees at Ohio State University. That ain't the one on my case, because the one on my case is breaking in homes like between 3 and 5 in the morning, forcing women down on their stomach, pulling their night gear over their head, tying their hands up, and raping them. So the rapes are still going on while I'm in prison. I'm studying the rapes. The guy jumping out of trees, that ain't him. The guy that had long hair, that ain't him. The guy that's raping women on telephone booths, that ain't him. But the rapes of somebody between 3 and 5 was still going on while I'm in prison. When they arrested the guy, I filed a motion in court and said, there's your rapist. Judge wrote me back before his ass died. You just trying to get somebody to do your time. A mother went out as the decoy on ABC. It was on national TV. Story was this case. And the mother stood out there as a decoy for a year, where her daughter got raped by this guy. That's how they caught him. The police were under investigation for not investigating rape cases when they took my case. So they just looking for somebody to clean the books on. So when they arrested the guy and told the MO, there's the beard, there's the short hair. I filed 2 motions, still got him. There's your rapist right there. Just about 2 years ago, I ran across an article searching for stuff on my case and never seen. I had been interviewed, but I never saw it in the newspaper, where the prosecutor admitted the guy with the most rapes in the state of Ohio is the one that raped the women. One of the women is my best friend to this day. When I got out of prison, she kept saying, you're the one that raped me, you're the one that raped me, you're the one that raped me. Every time the news media, Jerry Ravish, the only person that would do stories on me. God bless you, brother, for having the courage to do an interview with a strong brother. I needed that. Help my spirit to help me keep moving out here. But anyway, Once I kept getting these interviews, and she would call a news station crying, distraught, saying, "This man raped me. Why you all keep putting him on TV, making him out to be this wonderful person? Because I'm doing good in the hood, for goodness sake." So I told my attorney, arrange a meeting for us. Brought her into the meeting. She walked up to me, started beating me in my chest, just beating on me. And I grabbed her and I held her. "Not the one that raped you, dear. I'm the one you want on your team. Brother raped the sister, tried to rape a white woman in prison. I pulled him off. That's the person you want on your team." I held her. I held her. Didn't rape you. I said, "Here's what happened. I'm black. They've been using my people for over 400 years in America. You white. They used you. Ma'am, I'm not 6'1". I'm not 5'11". I'm not 6'3". I didn't rape you. I'm the one you want on your team." She and I are friends to this day. She's happily married, live up on the East Coast. We stay in touch, and good friends at that, because I had to convince her I'm not the rapist. I'm the one you want on your team. That's the rest of my story right there. It parted the waters. It made me feel good to meet her, because the pain that I felt, I'm glad that I had a chance to meet her and set her mind at ease. And now we're friends for life.